Hallo and guten Tag. Welcome back to the Märklin Outsider. And first of all, I just want to explain why I haven't recorded a video in many weeks. If you don't watch my other show where I explained it last week, I injured my back around Christmas Eve and mangled my sciatic nerve. And sitting up and walking or going downstairs was really hard to impossible to do for a couple of weeks. Fortunately, I was on vacation from work, and I went back to work, and it was rough for a couple of weeks, and I was going through therapy and getting better, and then I re-injured it being stupid trying to do a home repair job. So I just haven't been able to come down here, mess with my trains, definitely not sit to make a video. I'm still not 100%, but I'm definitely better, so I will be doing this in parts. Film about 10 minutes or 5 minutes and get up, walk around, what have you. But anyhow, that's what's happened. So, what has happened in the world of Mrklin? Well, since I started this show last April, this is the first time I've been able to talk about the big event of January and February, which is the Mrklin 2020 catalog coming out, and of course the Nuremberg Toy Fair, where all the companies, but we're talking trains, so all the train companies along with all the toy companies show off all their product that they plan on releasing over this year. Now, of course, Mrklin and all the other companies will be releasing more stuff that they add to it, so you'll see the summer catalog and the fall catalog later this year. But this is the first time since I started doing a Mrklin-based show that these events have happened. The big news on my own Mrklin front is that if you look behind me here, you'll see an ICE2, which I have had for about 3 years, and for the last year has been out of commission. Well, it's back in commission. In between back injuries, a friend of mine, Matt, came down and fixed a couple of the problems. I'm still going to send this off and get it lighted, get interior lights, and have a better decoder put in it. But I want to get it up to its full maximum size. I want to make it an 8-car prototype. Right now it's got 4 cars, although I just bought 2 from eBay that are coming in that will fit in with this, and so I'm excited about that because I will finally have an operational ICE2 again, and I want it to be prototype. The only other German train related business outside the catalogs and the toy fair, my wife and I just finished booking our trip to Germany this year. We'll be spending 3 weeks in Germany as we do every summer. Definitely looking forward to doing some train shopping. For the first time ever, I'll be riding a rail jet, which is important because it finally justifies owning a rail jet. If you don't know the story behind that, the rule when I got into trains was I only have model trains of trains I've ridden on. And I turned around and bought a couple of rail jets because they're beautiful. But now I'll be riding on them, so I can now officially claim, yes, I can officially own them, even though I've already had it for 3 years. We will be taking our first trips on an ICE4, so we're looking forward to that. We get to ride an ICE4 a couple of times, at least based on the current consist of the trains we booked. They're ICE4s. Very excited about that because I saw one last year because they really weren't in the areas of Germany when I went in 2017. And we saw one at Munich, I think it was last year. Maybe it was Frankfurt, but we saw one, and but we haven't ridden one yet. So it's kind of a big deal to get on the newest high-speed train of Germany. along with the railjet. Okay, so what I want to talk about today, after babbling here, is I want to talk briefly about the Mrklin 2020 catalog and announced lineup. I'm not going to go through every train. And I do not want to unintentionally insult anyone who watches this channel. I am a modern era person. I lean towards electric trains, not diesel, although we've ridden a lot of diesel, especially in Bavaria with the mountains and that, where it's a little harder for them to run the electrical lines to power the electric trains. I think steam trains are beautiful. They're just not my thing. So the first thing for me as a modern era person was that the Märklin 2020 offerings so far, again, don't know what they're going to release in their summer and fall catalogs. Disappointed's the wrong word. It makes it sound like they're not making anything good. They're just not making anything Era 6. So, I mean, I guess I am disappointed there wasn't more there, although I really restrict what I buy. So, let's look at the catalog. So, this is the cover of the Märklin 2020 catalog. This is what they released just before the toy show in Nuremberg at the end of January. If you've never done a Märklin catalog before, and I'm sure most people that are now watching this show know a Märklin catalog, so I will try to keep this short. But one of their big highlights when they release the catalog will always be one of the trains they're pushing, special deal. Usually it's a Mrklin Insider exclusive. That's what this is. This is an Era 3 Trans-Europäischen Express or Trans-European Express. Like you couldn't have guessed that. And this is the Mrklin Insiders train. This train is only available to members of the Mrklin Insiders Club. And they always feature one of those trains on the cover of their catalogs. There's a couple of things. There's what's called the MHI or MHI, the Märklin Händlers Initiative, the Märklin Dealers Initiative, where there's also trains that you have to be a member of the MHI to be able to sell those trains. You're offered special trains that won't be sold to the mass number of stores unless you're a member of the MHI. Now, obviously, I assume you have to pay something to, as a shop owner, you have to pay that, and some shops refuse to do that. But if you are a member of MHI, you get that. So the catalog follows a format. Every year, the catalog's the same. This is my fourth catalog that since I've been into the train hobby, to follow. Anyhow, it's set up the same way. It always starts with the exclusives, the MHI exclusives, the Märklin Insider exclusives. Then it goes through the various levels. It'll do the My World, which is the little kitty, hard plastic battery-operated trains. Then the Startup, which I think it's insulting to say it's for kids. They do call it the Startup, but, you know, you could be like me when I was 51, starting up. But they're just a basic kit that has a controller, a less expensive train, and a circuit of tracks so that you can get going. And then they go through their primary sets, and this covers everything. This covers Z scale and 1 scale as well as HO. I'm not going to look at the Z scale or the 1 scale because I'm an HO guy. Again, you can go look at this online yourself. I'll provide a link here and in the description of the video, and you can actually go look at it if you see something. But my initial reaction to this, and please try to understand what I'm saying, was disappointment. But it's not because I don't think the quality is good. They make a lot of beautiful trains, but it's disappointing to my genre. I am an Era 6 modern train person, specifically Germany, Austria, and the western part of the Czech Republic. That's the area and the timeline of trains I want, and this catalog did not release a lot in that era. So I'm I'm just personally disappointed. There's a lot of beautiful trains, and Mrklin just keeps stepping up their game. Sometimes they get things a little slower, and I'll explain that when I get to that section. But I can scroll through the page, announcing, again, there's that, if you look over here, it says MHI. If you're reading this on a smartphone, maybe you can't see it as well, but I'm not going to mess with the camera and bounce it around to really zoom it in. But MHI, Märklin Initiative, Märklin Händler Initiative, which is dealers that are part of this exclusive release group. So the company Schuko that makes miniature cars and toy soldiers and all kinds of things I think Mrklin now owns the company Schuko, and so they're pushing their stuff. And apparently it's the 30th anniversary since Mrklin started the Mrklin Dealer Initiative, and so they're having a big celebration of that. So all kinds of things. And again, the positive or the negative, they're mentioning their YouTube channel here, which unfortunately is always in German and rarely does it give subtitles to other languages. All right, the big announcement from Mrklin, so that's one thing. The big announcement from Mrklin is that they are releasing Class 66 locomotives. These are diesel freight locomotives. They're big, they're powerful, and looking at these 4 liveries, they're very, very sharp. These are actually made by the American company General Motors. And these were originally made for England. In fact, something like 75% of the Class 66 locomotives, if not higher, were shipped to England. But then the various British rail companies started selling them off, and so they're showing up in other countries now because they're proving to be very powerful, very popular locomotives, the Class 66. I follow a lot of channels from the UK, and there are many people that are fans of the various British Class UK, let's say UK, let's not say British, Class 66 that are there. So you go through, and these are just all the special things they have, and I'm just going to glide through this, and you can look at this. This is a special set Mrklin announced last year and began releasing with individual locomotive and cars. Now they're putting it together as a set, a box of the cars and then the locomotive, but they had problems with it, and some of them got recalled, and there was a lot of guys never got theirs who ordered them, and other people were unhappy with something about it. So now Mrklin's reissuing them and redoing them. And whenever you look at the Mrklin catalog with the locomotive, up here in the right-hand corner, they have a list of all the functions the train can do based on which type of controller you're using it with. So if I zoom on this, now again, they're not going to mention other companies, but if you're using a basic command unit, you only get so many functions. If you're using a regular old mobile station, you only get so many. Mobile Station 2, which is the current version, gives you so many. And the Central Station 1 gives you the same amount as the mobile station. But if you have the Central Station 2 or 3 with the most current function or operating system, then you get a lot more functions. That is a lot of functions there. Okay, let me zoom this back out because that's enough of demonstrating that. I mean, again, this is all, you could click on this yourself and see it all for yourself. You don't need me insulting intelligence. All right, so I'm just going to scroll through this really quick so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Now, this is an Era 5. It's modern, but it's not my era of modern. It's a cool-looking train, definitely, but it's not my thing. But this is still their Märklin Händler Initiative. They're also doing this Deutsche Bahn. They call this an Era 6 because it's basically a historical remade train. This actually would have been an Era 4 locomotive, I believe, and they're pushing that, the Deutsche Bundesbahn. And here's the TEE, or TE train, or TE, the TE train, Trans-European Express, Edelweiss version. So again, let me keep adjusting this up. Gorgeous train, not my thing. And these are very popular to European model train guys.
various versions of the TEE show up everywhere. Mrklin releases some version of it maybe every year, it seems like, but they're releasing a new special version and going from there. So they're obviously going to highlight that. Okay, so now you got the kiddie section. This is battery operated. The track is made just like the C track, except it's all plastic, doesn't have the metal lines running through it. You can't electrify it. Trains are battery operated. So, but this is becoming so successful, they're now releasing all kinds of play sets and things for kids to do. So, yeah, there's all kinds of cool little things. But if you look at the wheels on that, you can see that's the Mrklin My World. That's for kids and the play set. A new Emma from the Jim Button movie series. They released a movie a couple of years ago, and this is done in HO scale, but that they tell you it's not HO scale because that smokestack is not to scale. The locomotive is not officially to HO scale. It's just designed to run on the HO track. Jim Button is a very popular book from the 60s by a guy named Michael Enda, who also wrote the book Never Ending Story, if you're familiar with that book, and the movie from the 90s, late 80s. I'm getting old, people. All that stuff blends together. This was his other huge popular book with a little bit more social criticism and stuff in it, but disguised as a cute little kid story. So that is something I might look at. I actually have the set they released with the first movie in my classroom running. My students do like to run it. But I don't know if I'll add this to it, but I might add some of the cars they're making to go with it. All right, so, and now we get into the startup area. Actually, the Jim Button was a startup as well. Just some basic trains. They don't have a lot in the startup era or area. The startup comes in two forms. There really are the trains that you might think are aimed for kids, and you can tell that by the controller they include. This is obviously aimed at younger kids because it's got this little handheld joystick controller. It's infrared, but there are, I know, adult collectors, older collectors who would love this train. But this is inexpensive. It's, this is something you give to a kid for Christmas or his birthday, and you hope they get into trains that way. This is one of their big releases. They announced it towards the end of last year that it was coming, and then they officially put it in this. This is a big steam locomotive they've been making a big deal about. It's called the Hochachsige, or the High Stepper. I probably didn't say that completely right, but there it is, and all cars with it. But as I go through this, and I'm going to scroll through this really fast, you can see all these steam locomotives in Era, well, actually that's in Era 1, Era 2, 3, 4, cars and trains. Lots of steam locomotives in this one. If you're a steam locomotive guy, this catalog is for you to check out. All kinds of steam locomotives, a couple of big diesels from bygone eras as well. But yeah, if you look at this, nothing modern at all, until finally you get to these. And this really technically is the only new modern announcements in this catalog. These are Lint class commuter trains and class 648 too. I have a Lint class train, my Nordwestbahn, which actually maybe I'll mess with you a bit and say there it is right there. That's a Lint class 648, and that's the new thing they have there. But somebody just came in the back door. And I am definitely interested in the Red Regiobahn because I do have the Nordwestbahn, but I've ridden plenty of these over the days and just have never had one. And so this is new coming out this year, so this is definitely one on my will probably get list. But this was it as far as new announcements. And there's the other half showing all the functions. I'm definitely interested in the top one, not so much in the bottom one, even though that color scheme appeals to me a bit. Now, this is also Era 6. This is a big deal, and I'm already planning on getting this train as well. But this was actually announced last year, and they put it in this year's catalog as well, but it was in last year's catalog. This is the Märklin version of the new ICE4 train. And they're releasing the train along with a 4-car add-on set that you can make a prototypical 9-car set, although actually the ICE4s come in 12-car sets. So maybe you buy 2 sets of these 3-car expansions and one of those to make it a 12-car set. But this goes back to something I mentioned in the introduction, which is that this is something that does annoy Märklin collectors and model train hobbyists who would like to do Märklin. These wagons are done at 195 scale. They're not true 187. Märklin does this for a lot of reasons, but the real reason, despite the ones they give, is that these can still go around radius 1 curves that Märklin includes in all their startup sets. Märklin's startup set is basically designed to fit the American equivalent 2x4, 2 foot by 4 foot table. And radius 1 curves fit that space. Radius 2 curves do not fit that space. And so they will shorten and change the scale of their trains a little bit so that they can still use the radius 1. I really wish Märklin would just dump that and only sell radius 2 curves. But they also talk about all the people who have been collecting Märklin for 50, 60, 70 years who have radius 1 curves and would like this train, and if they made it 187, they wouldn't be able to use it. The people who run those older radius 1 curve layouts probably wouldn't be buying an ICE4. Pico, on the other hand, released their ICE4 last year to rave reviews. They were highlighting it again at this year's Toy Fair, and it's at full 187 scale. Now, before I feel like I'm bashing Märklin, I'm going to defend Märklin in this regard. I understand their excuses why they do shorten it. I wish they wouldn't. On the other hand, Pico really made a nice ECE4. The functions and some of the design in the Märklin, even if it's not the full accurate scale, are going to top Pico's. There are things Pico did not include on theirs. Märklin's going to include some of the design, some of the cool little things that just make it look more realistic, even though technically it's not realistic because of the scale. So you pick your poison, Pico or Märklin. Märklin is really putting a lot more effort. Their train is going to do a lot more than the Pico train can do. If you're into bells and whistles, like me, you're going to do that. Now, I did lie. I said those 2 Lint class trains were the only brand new. Well, technically there is one more brand new, that's Era 6. They announced right before the train show with this catalog that they are making the green ICE4. What does that mean? Well, this ICE4 is powered slightly differently, and it's considered a high-efficiency ecological train, and so they gave it the green stripe to highlight that it is better for the environment than even the other ICE4. But, so the debate is, do you want the green stripe on the running engines, or do you want the red stripe? I haven't decided yet, although technically I have, because I ordered the original one and not this one, but I put this one on my wish list. I'm not getting 2. I will have one ICE4. And this is doubly cool because I'll be riding an ICE4 in Germany. So that was it as far as new Era 6. This is Era 6, but this isn't new. They released this last year. They're putting it in their catalog again this year. There's all kinds of Vectron 193 electric locomotives. I got this, my wife bought this for me almost 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. She got it for me, just over a year ago. She got it for me for Christmas of 2018. Actually, my birthday of 2018. This Class 187 freight locomotive in its new design. So this is not new, even though it's Era 6. They're just reissuing it. It was popular, they're reissuing it. And then the Class 66 are new. They are Era 6, but they're not Germany. So do I sound like I'm being a hypocrite because I'm putting out some things that are new? But again, if you're German, Austria, if you're Central European, Era 6, the only thing that was truly brand new announced for you were those 2 Lint class. The ICE4s had already been announced. The Class 66 yes, one of the liveries is for a German-based company, but you make the call. They're beautiful. Not going to criticize them. They look gorgeous. I would like to see one at a shop when I go to Germany and see how they are. And then, of course, for all those whatever, they make them. So I can scroll through this, and I'm going to do this fast. If you want to stop and look, again, Era 6 Swiss, Eurocity and passenger trains, not their highest high-speed trains, but up there, and the matching locomotive. And then that's how they end this catalog. The last three things you'll see in this catalog is they will go through and do other countries. Like they start with stuff that is German, and then they do the other countries. So you can see Switzerland, a lot of Swiss stuff, because Switzerland, Märklin is very, very popular in Switzerland. And then Austria, and then they'll have Norway, Denmark, and things. I'm not going to show all that. And then they end the catalog with Z-scale. Actually, you have accessories to go with Mrklin, HO scale. Then they'll do Z scale. That's the smallest. Well, it's not even the smallest scale now, but technically the most common. I mean, they're like that big. They're really small. And then they do one scale, and then they end the catalog. And I'll just zip to the back with updates on track and parts numbers and stuff like that. And more insider cars that only members of the Märklin Insiders Club or the MHA group can buy or sell. And again, this is all one scale stuff that I'm showing there. All right, so back to me. Okay, so that was a look at the Märklin catalog. I hope you enjoyed it. It was nothing exciting in terms of watching somebody scroll through some web pages going, look at that. But that's kind of what I was up to today. I'm going to say Auf Wiedersehen und Tschüss, and hopefully see you with more stuff, including a look at a couple of things going on, especially with this ICE3. So until then, happy trains.